Yes, yes, yes. So good morning, good morning, good morning. I have been watching TED Talks. I don't know how many of you watch TED Talks. I've got a whole new TV system. I act out with TV a lot. So I've turned on my cable again. But not as a discipline to not watch TV. I want to watch what I want to watch. So I have this thing called a Roku that lets me watch whatever I want to watch whenever I want to watch it without having to know that it came on and TiVo it. I can just search. And one of the things that my Roku gives me are all of the TED Talks. So that while I've just got, doing things around the house, I can have TED Talks running. And one of the TED Talks that I heard that was very recent was about all of the new developments in the regenerative biomedical field. And a few years ago, I told a story and had pictures. I'm not going to show you pictures today. But I told you a story about a guy who got the tip of his finger cut off, and they used powdered pig bladder, and they put it on him, and he grew his finger back, complete with the bone and the nail. And he said the only difference between that finger and all of the other fingers was that he had to cut that new nail every day because it grew so fast. And that was 3 or 4 years ago. I was telling that story and showed you pictures, and some people complained. No pictures. Use your imagination. I don't know what it is about pigs, but now they're taking pig intestines and grinding them up and drying it out and using it, and somehow it sparks something in the human body and allows it to regenerate. Now, regenerate is a great word. It means the process of renewal, restoration, and growth. So not only does it renew it, but it restores it and it grows. And this idea about regenerating parts of our physical body is so fascinating to me because as a species, we are awakening to this idea that what we thought was impossible is not impossible. That we used to think that if you lost something, it was lost. Well, we in Science of Mind know nothing is lost in Divine Mind, and sure enough, medical science is catching up with us. When a baby is in the womb, and if for any reason they lose a limb in the first trimester, they just grow it back. No big deal, no problem. When a child is up until about 2 years old, they can lose part of their finger and just grow it back. Common medical knowledge. No big deal. There's something within us that knows how to do that. And then we forget. Somehow on a cellular level we forget. It kind of reminds me of the Ram Dass books, where he talks about how we come in knowing who we are. We come in knowing that we are spirit in form, and then we kind of buy into the whole time-space thing, and mom and dad and us and siblings and hunger and wet and all of that, and we forget. But what medical science is doing is finding a way to make us remember. I think that's what we do in these kinds of spiritual communities. We find a way to remember that which we have forgotten. And in medical science, it's fascinating to me because there's a lot of doctors, and there are a lot of people who go to doctors, and there are a lot of articles written about things that doctors do. So they have the umbrella to touch so many people with their developments and their discoveries. And one of the things that regenerative biomedical is doing is injecting some of these interesting remembering cells in the caterpillar as it goes to the butterfly. It turns to goo, and then it develops something called, and this is the God's honest word for it, imaginal cells. They are cells that allow the caterpillar to remember that it is truly a butterfly, and it changes the goo in the chrysalis into a beautiful butterfly. They're imaginal cells, and we have something similar to that. They used to call them stem cells, but now they're actually fine-tuning that way more than just generic stem cells. And they used to think that you had to get stem cells from certain places. Now they're finding they can take them from anywhere. You know, a place that they're realizing is just a really big storehouse of stem cells? The stuff that comes out with liposuction. Can you imagine you're going in to get one of your heart valves worked on with stem cells, and they say, well, before we get started, let's just go ahead and liposuction you. You're going to be recovering anyway, and we'll use those cells, inject them in your heart, and it will remind your heart of how it's supposed to be, and it will regenerate. I saw a picture of doctors injecting stem cells in someone's heart. They said anybody can do a bypass. And a bypass will last for a few years, and you'll buy some time. But if you inject these cells, and right now they're pig intestine cells, who knows? They said that not only will you have the effect of the bypass, but that the heart will regenerate itself back into absolute perfect health. This is happening today. There are more and more studies of adults that have lost digits, and they have been regrown. They're working with the soldiers. Last week was Veterans Day. They're working with the soldiers who have come back with wounds, and they're putting stem cells on the wounds, even if they have to open the wounds back up, and they're regrowing their limbs, their digits, the parts of their body that were lost. They said it's just a matter of time before we go from a finger to a hand to an arm to a leg. It's just a matter of time. The body remembers what it is supposed to be. The same way as that baby in the first trimester knows what it's supposed to have. It will regrow it. And the reason that this is so exciting to me, yeah, it's great that it's medical science, but it's a shift in consciousness. Because it is a shift in consciousness that says we are perfect, whole, and complete. And even if we lose something, nothing is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. And we don't have to forget. We can remember at some level, and then we can bring forth, we can restore, we can grow, we can return to wholeness that which we thought was forever gone. So how do we jump from that to our lives? What is it in our lives that looks like it's damaged beyond repair? A relationship? All we have to do is remember, have that within ourselves, remember what the wholeness is of it, and watch it come back into form. What is it in our lives that appears to be damaged beyond repair or lost forever? We can move into that state of remembering the wholeness of it and watch it show up. This is an outer reflection in a way that most people can understand of the truth that we have been teaching for 100 years. That there is that within us that is perfect, whole, and complete. And maybe we forgot. Maybe we thought, oh, it really is about money or our economy or what the doctor said or about they left me. If they left you, let them go. Bless them on their way. Shut that door. You can't go chasing after someone who doesn't want to be with you. You are better than that.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. If someone says, we no longer want you at this workplace, go, yay, because you've obviously outgrown that. This is not a time to go, oh, all is lost. Open up to that awareness of the perfection within every experience. And what you're going to find is that there is something on a cellular level, on a biomedical level. It is in your cells. On a metaphysical level, it is in your awareness. And even in your cells, do you remember when they said, oh, you have these genes, and if you have certain genes, you are predisposed to certain things, height, weight, disease, that kind of thing? Not. Along comes Bruce Lipton, and he says that, isn't it interesting that the brain of a cell is on the outside of the cell? Boy, I always thought it was on the inside of the cell. And he says, no, The actual brain, of which there are tiny, minute crystals and information passing out and into the cell, is on the outside of the cell membrane. And it has everything to do with the environment that the cell is in as to its health. Think about it. If you take a perfectly healthy cell and put it in a toxic environment, it will get sick. If you take a sick cell and put it in a healthy environment, it will get healthy. So it's not so much about what our genes are. For that matter, Bruce Lipton describes our genetic predisposition, our whole genome blueprint, as a library. And we can go into that library and either pull a book off the shelf and open it up, focus on some genetic predisposition and bring it to life, or we can take that book and close it up and put it back on the shelf. And the gene will either be activated or it will be put away. We can do that with our genes. And how do we create an environment for ourselves? With our thought. What kind of an environment do we put ourselves in? Do we put ourselves in toxic environments and then wonder why our lives are falling apart and we're getting sick? Or do we put ourselves in an environment of health and wholeness and say, my life just keeps getting better and better and better. I keep looking younger and younger and younger. I am healthier, I'm happier, I'm more prosperous because of the environment that I have put myself into with my own thoughts, by generating feelings of happiness and love and joy, by making choices that support me in creating the life that I want. And if you look around and you find something that's not working, it's not about going, oh, this is the way it's always been. No change will ever happen. You know, if humanity didn't have any change, we would never have evolved. We would still be amoebas in the soup of things. Change always happens. Change always happens. So how are we going to bring forth that change? Are we going to say that there's a health and a wholeness within me, and I'm going to generate with my thoughts and my feelings an environment that supports that health and wholeness, and I'm going to bring forth physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the best me, the me that I was always meant to be? Am I going to bring that forth? Or am I going to sit back and join the masses that say, once you lost it, you'll never get it back. You only have one chance in life. One person leaves you, you'll never love again. You go bankrupt, you'll never have any money again. Are you going to allow that race consciousness that is being broken through right as we speak by breakthroughs in science that is saying you can regrow an entire finger? It's being done right now. They're working on the hand. I saw where they had actually taken an inkjet printer. Most of us have one of those. And when the cartridge where the ink goes, they have stem cells. And they print it into form on a little, they called it a scaffold, a little mold, a heart that 2 hours after printing began to beat. Holy smokes, exactly, exactly. Now that's happening right now. What's going to be the norm in 10 years? What's going to be the norm in 20 years, and 50 years, and 100 years? Where if some part of your body starts to go, instead of going bionic, you're going to regenerate it. You're going to have something that is actually the part of you that you had before, only it's new. What kind of a life do you want to regenerate? What kind of a life do you want to infuse into mind, into the spiritual mind of the divine? What kind of cells, what kind of ideas are you going to put out there so that you can look at your life and go, holy smokes? What do you want to grow? What do you want to create? How do you want to be? How do you want to live? These are amazing times that we are living in when people can say that which was impossible yesterday is normal today. So I encourage you to take your impossibilities and throw them out with the trash. To think about how you can see new ideas of anything that you want, and plant it in that fertile soil of mind and watch it show up. There is that within you that remembers who you are, who you have always been, who you will always be, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what you've gone through. There's that within you, both on a cellular level and a cosmic level, that knows who you are meant to be. And it'll grow that if you give it a chance. And you give it a chance by creating a supportive, healthy environment within you through your thoughts and your feelings. And then very consciously plant those seeds of intention, of knowing, of creativity, and watch as you regenerate your life. You get to have it any way you want. Absolutely any way you want. Don't settle for second best. Don't step down when you can step up. Don't break down when you can break through. Decide what you want. Throw away any ideas that says, no, I can't have that, and go for it. In the same way that that heart started beating hours after an inkjet printer printed out stem cells on a little form, your life will start to beat with the rhythm of the universe, and amazing things will happen. And so it is.